It's Friday, November 3rd, 2023, and this is the Washington Times front page. Thanks for joining us. I'm George Gerbo. Lawmakers have advanced a Republican-crafted standalone Israel aid package, but the Democratic-led Senate and White House have warned that the bill is dead on arrival. Alex Miller reports the bill passed on a 226 to 196 vote that mostly followed party lines. A dozen Democrats joined most Republicans to pass the measure. Most House Democrats rejected the bill because they believed that funding the plan by clawing back money for the IRS was making aid to Israel conditional. The White House, congressional Democrats, and Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell oppose separating Israel aid from Ukraine aid. They say President Biden's umbrella proposal is the best path forward to reach the 60-vote threshold needed for passage in the Senate. President Biden has established the first national strategy to fight Islamophobia after his support of Israel sparked outrage among some Democrats. Jeff Murdoch and Valerie Richardson report White House officials met with Muslim and Arab American leaders to discuss ways to become more supportive of their communities. Since Hamas's attack last month, the president has sought to balance his support for Israel with calls for restraint in its military response. He's called for a pause in fighting to allow women and children to flee the Hamas-controlled Gaza Strip, pushed to increase humanitarian aid to the region, and spoke out against Islamophobia. Biden has forcefully condemned Hamas, but the administration has tiptoed around the post-attack surge of protests against Israel. White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre avoided describing the protesters as extremists at a briefing this week. Instead, she denounced any form of hate, including anti-Semitism and hate against the Muslim community. The pro-democracy activist who won a key opposition primary in Venezuela says the regime of President Nicolas Maduro has made a huge mistake by attempting to disqualify her from running against him next year. Guy Taylor reports the opposition and the Biden administration are pressuring Maduro to honor promises to hold a free and fair vote in a country where a collapsed economy has created a massive humanitarian crisis. So far, the socialist regime there has balked. Maduro, who is a hand-picked successor of former Venezuelan President Hugo Chavez, has held the presidency since April 13. That's when he narrowly won an election that the opposition has claimed was fraudulent. And finally, South Korea is grappling with what many fear is a sharply deteriorating security situation and a diplomatic standstill as the threat from North Korea expands. Andrew Salmon reports South Korean analysts believe North Korean leader Kim Jong-un's regime possesses some 100 nuclear warheads, with many more being built. As angst rises in South Korea and the United States, options to alter the dynamic on the divided Korean peninsula are bleak. Find all today's front page stories at WashingtonTimes.com/front page or the Washington Times app, and find us wherever you get your podcasts. Just search Washington Times in any major podcast app. You can also find us on social media at Wash Times for breaking news, sports, commentary, and more. For the Washington Times, I'm George Gerbo.